look around and I realize God left this place a long time ago.
I gave seminars on manipulation. I could reach into a man's soul and unravel it with one tug. Cool. Hit me. You're bull.
So are you?
I'll kill you, you...
You're wearing protective goggles to destroy my car?
Safety first!
It's the Al Travis Show, and just a real good friend of the program. We love having him on. He's Erich Mische with S.A.V.E, Suicide Awareness Voices of Education. Erich, how you doing, my boy?
I'm stunning, although I have to tell you, when you kind of were getting ready to promo this, you talked about another guest that you have as though everybody should pay attention to that guy instead of paying attention to this guy.
No, that's not true. I probably shared too much, but I actually had a guy, I presume it was a guy, I don't know, that had a weird name on their email, but sent me an email the other day, and this is how weird this gets. Literally said, I should have turned the radio off as soon as you got done with the sports. Then ripped on, it was right wing, it ripped on this right wing guy, this guy, and ripped on that, and then says, but I really love Mr. Binge, the guy that just talks TV with me. And I went back and said, I got it. You lean to the left. I got no problem with that. But what about these? And I listed the left-leaning guys I have on. And have you tried all these other things? If this show does anything, we try really hard to cover it all and just be fair about it, right? We're going to spend time talking about suicide. Not many radio stations to do it. I'm not trying to kiss myself. Here's the reason why. I was just thinking about this the other day. If this radio show is going to hook itself up to some wagon like yours, it's because I know you guys do it right. And we'll talk about all the stuff you got going on. You're not one of these fly-by-night guys. You're going to run this organization right. If I ask people to give you money on the show to help your cause, it's going to be spent right. At least the people I get on, or at least I try to get on, are people I know and that I trust. And if I put you on, it's because, you know what? And again, a right-wing knucklehead that'll come on, you may not agree with him, but guess what? He believes that, and here's why. Same on the left. I may not agree with them, but here's what they believe and why. And as long as they're honest about it, that's all we can ask from anybody, right? Yeah. So don't give me and the next guy's going to be huge. I'm excited about him, but so are you.
Well, I appreciate that. And as you know, I'm a big advocate for not surrounding yourself with people that you agree with all the time, right? Yeah. Because if you recall, I can't remember which chapter in this book, but we talk about don't just surround yourself with people you agree with all the time, right? And I think that anybody that provides a platform for people who have different opinions to have respectful dialogue, and they can disagree vehemently, right?
Yeah.
And we should, when we find ourselves disagreeing about issues, we ought to be able to do so vehemently, vigorously, robustly, but we ought to be able to do it respectfully, right? And at least be open to the possibility that the person that we're talking to, who we might disagree with, may have a perspective worth hearing.
See, and this is, I think, what's changed. You did some politics back in your day. Unlike suicide awareness, right? I don't know if you can't find 99 out of 100 people, because there's always some lunatic somewhere, that doesn't say, we want to do what we can to help stop this problem, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer. But when it comes to politics, you're about the same age as I presume. There was a time when we disagreed on each side. Democrats disagreed with Republicans and vice versa, but only on the method. We all wanted to get to that same spot, right? A better America, better this and that. And so you could look at your neighbor and say, yeah, I disagree with them. I don't think we should spend money on the whatever, but it's all just how we got to that same spot. I don't know that we're all looking at the same spot anymore, Eric.
We're not. And this is a good conversation to have, because actually it does have relationship to the work that we do. You know, when I was a young staffer working the Minnesota State Capitol back in the 80s and 90s, you had Democrats and Republicans, Al, who literally would get on the floor of the Senate, get on the floor of the House, and they would just tear each other's arguments apart, right?
Yeah.
And these were intense debates, and oftentimes would get angry and personal. And then when all of that was done, they'd walk off the floor, they would shake hands, right? They would get together that night, they'd have a drink, they'd have dinner together, they'd ask how your kids were doing. When I was a U.S. Senate Chief of Staff, in the early 2000s. Okay.
Yep.
I was a part of a bipartisan chief of staff group, right, that got together every week, right, and just kind of talked about things. And I would tell you that up until the middle, I would say up until 2008, 2010, right,
Yep.
you could still have Democrats and Republicans who in Congress could at least find common ground, not middle ground, but common ground. And today, none of that is possible, right? And we find ourselves so polarized and isolated, right? So even with the work that we do in suicide prevention, right? I will tell you that one of the most difficult parts of addressing the challenges of suicide oftentimes comes down to isolation and loneliness and hopelessness and helplessness, right?
Sure.
All of this thing that we deal with today in the body politic in America just exacerbates that, right?
Yeah.
You walk away from a conversation or an interview that you see on TV where people just can't find the decency to be good to one another. And it just contributes to that sense of hopelessness and helplessness. And I got to tell you that political leadership today, and I don't care what party you belong to and what ideology you belong to, part of your obligation as a leader is to work. It's hard work finding common ground. It is hard work. But you know what? That's what you signed up for. And so when you have a radio show where you bring people on who have those perspectives, right?
Yep.
The hope is that people can look at and look at this from the perspective of, you know what? I don't agree with that guy 90%, 95%, but even 5%, right? It's the line from Dumb and Dumber where the guy asked, do you think there's a chance that I could ever go out with you? And she goes, not a chance in a million. And he goes, so you're saying I got to cheat?
Well, yes, and I agree with you 100%. I also think if they can find out that these people are humans. John Hoffman's a good friend of the show, Senator Hoffman. Smoke cigars, and we talk more or less about politics, more about stories of him and I smoking cigars. You find out he's a normal guy. Melissa Hortman getting shot. I didn't know a ton about her. I had on the show a couple times, talked politics. I didn't know much about her. When you find out she raised rescue dogs, and then she had to take the rescue dog, her dog, who couldn't pass rescue dog class because he was too friendly, so she took him. Yeah. That tells you something about her that it makes it harder to hate, right? I mean, I think the other thing we can do on this is get everybody out here and find out, oh, yeah, I don't like him as a left winger, but you know what? He's a big Viking fan, so I can get behind him. We got to find some common stuff that doesn't have to mean they're bad because they vote the wrong way. That's okay. Why are we talking about me?
Yeah. All right. So
I want to talk about you because you got a lot going on. You're going to Washington, as I understand, here next week. What's that about?
So I'm going out to Washington, D.C. with one of my board members, MJ Weiss-Blair. And your folks who have watched this show and listened to the show before may remember MJ worked very hard to get $8 million from the Minnesota legislature to install permanent suicide prevention deterrents on a tall public structure here in Minnesota. I'm going out with her, an individual named Trish Morello, who lost her son to suicide on a tall public structure in Nashville over 10 years ago, and another gentleman named Stephen Hines, who lost his son on the same structure not long before Trish lost her son. So the three of them and myself are going out to D.C. We're looking for co-sponsors for a bill called the Barriers to Suicide Act, which provide funding but also policy that would ultimately require that any type of public infrastructure that has been identified as high risk for suicide, that we integrate best practices, suicide prevention deterrents into that public infrastructure before it's built, right? Mm-hmm. It's just kind of common sense stuff. As I tell people, we integrate ADA requirements, environmental standards, all sorts of things into public infrastructure today. Yeah, it does not add appreciably to the cost. And frankly, it's better to integrate it at the front end than to try to figure it out at the back end. So we're out there all week. The key thing is we're trying to find a couple of Republican U.S. senators to sign on with the Democrats. Senator Padilla from California, Senator Klobuchar from Minnesota have already signed on. Now we're looking for a couple of Republicans. So that's what we're going to be doing next week.
Well, go get them. It sounds like, and this is the mirror product of what we passed here in Minnesota, right? I mean, is this almost the exact same?
The theory of change is the same, Al. Okay. It's the idea that And we are also working with the Minnesota Department of Transportation and the Minnesota Department of Health right now on another piece of legislation which would essentially do the same thing here in Minnesota.
All right. We've got to go to break. Good luck on that. When we come back, we got to talk about this 988. It's a big deal going on. We'll talk about that after the break. I've got him. Erich Mische. He's the big man at S.A.V.E, Suicide Awareness, Voices of Education.
Every year, countless lives are lost to suicide, but it doesn't have to be this way. There's hope and there's help. S.A.V.E, Suicide Awareness, Voices of Education, is working to prevent suicide through education, training, advocacy, and support for suicide loss survivors. S.A.V.E, Suicide Awareness, Voices of Education, wants you to know that you can save a life. S.A.V.E.org.
Don't need to ask him his opinion more than once. Al Travis on the Al Travis Show.
We've got Erich Mische in with S.A.V.E, Suicide Awareness, Voices of Education. We often talk about it, as we're talking about when you're on the program, if this doesn't hit your ear right, if it hits your heart wrong, if you got a thought you know you need some help with, the call or text 988. You've got a big deal going on here in April with that. What's going on here with 988?
We got a big event in April. It's called Bright Night. It's at the Fillmore in Minneapolis. If you've ever been to the Fillmore, if you haven't, an extraordinary venue. This is the first ever event that we've done like this. Bright Night, it's a celebration of the work that we do. We've got live music, we've got great food, we've got entertainment. We just announced this week that we have changed the pricing structure for our general admission tickets to anchor it to 988. So as we've talked about, Al, 988 is a resource. You can call it, you can text it, you can chat it. It's available for free. It's available 24/7, 365. It's confidential. If you're struggling, you need somebody to talk to, you call it, you text it, you chat it. There's someone on the end of the conversation who can help you. If you know somebody who's struggling and you don't know how to help them, the resource is there for the same reason. So as we looked at this event, we're thinking to ourselves, we want to have as many Minnesotans as we can attend this. We want to make it affordable, accessible. And so what we also wanted to do was symbolize and connect it to a resource that's important, 988. So if you want to come to this event, you can pay $9.88.
Oh, wow.
Pay $98.88, $988.88.
Wow.
You come to this event, you pay what you can afford. If you can't do $9.88, reach out to me and talk to me. We want you at this event. You got to have a ticket. We have Des from KS95, who you know very well,
absolutely,
as the master of ceremony. Des lost her brother to suicide about 21 years ago. We've got a Minnesota comedian, award-winning comedian, Comrade Tripp, who's going to do a comedy presentation based on his own kind of life experience. Absolutely hilarious guy, perfect for this event.
Love it.
We got Michael Lunin, who is a acclaimed pianist who's going to be performing. And we have internationally acclaimed multi-platinum guitarist who toured with Alice Cooper, who's played with Michael Jackson, who's going to go out on Michael. Her name is Orianthi. So this is chock full of everything. We got great food by Chowgirl. So if you want to attend this event, $9.88.
Yeah.
Pretty darn good for a general admission ticket for an event like this.
That caliber.
Bright night. It's April 11th at Fillmore. Go to our website, S.A.V.E.org. I expect to see you there, Al.
Center Vets, yep.
And everybody that's listening, you ought to come to this event.
Because let's be honest, people do this for a reason. You have two title sponsors, I'm presuming, because they're on the big deal. Title Smart and Executive Title. Can you tell us what those guys are?
So
let's give them a little
Smart,
plug.
Executive Title. My CEO, Cindy Cope, and my president of the board, Cindy Coble, owns both of those companies and stepped up and said, I want to be the presenting sponsor.
Love that.
Title Smart, Executive Title do a lot of work in the community. We got other sponsors. Willis Towers Watson just came on board. We've got a bunch of folks that we're rolling out here over the next week and sponsors. Again, the goal here is to make this accessible to any Minnesotan who wants to attend from wherever. $9.88. That gets you in the door, gets you access to everything. One of the best things is if you want to come from greater Minnesota, there's a hotel connected to the Fillmore that has an actual ticket that, or I can't even talk. I'm so excited.
This is fantastic.
We have a special room block rate for Bright Night
right.
with that hotel. You can come to that. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is not a sit-down gala. I promise you. It's not something where you have to show up and go sit and listen to people talk for hours and hours and hours.
This could be fun.
Intended to celebrate our work, focus on what we do, and talk about resources like 988.
I love that. Congratulations. Okay, that's coming up on April 11th. Do we throw something out there that we're going to do our day of suicide S.A.V.E. day on the radio again?
We are September 10th, which is World Suicide Prevention Day across the world. We're going to do the radiothon again that you launched this year or last year. 3 hours.
Yep.
3 hours
Love that.
Of smart people, not just me, but some smart people that we're going to talk about what we can all do to help prevent suicide. We're going to talk about 988. We're going to talk about the one step ahead training that S.A.V.E. has. We're going to talk about a lot of things that can help be resources to you, to your loved ones, to people you care about, your coworkers, your colleagues, your neighbors, whole thing. I'm excited. So put it on your calendar for Thursday, September 10th.
And we'll be chatting about it quite a little bit as we get closer. It's, again, an opportunity to spread the word about suicide. I just want to throw out, it's anecdotal, but did you catch the American Idol contestant that came on? I saw, my wife and I always watch the beginning because sometimes really bad singers get on and I laugh at that. But this mother came on and introduced a gal she had not met who wrote a song about her daughter's suicide, and it kind of perked my ear. It was wow. There were cats in the room. My allergies went nuts. That was, did you happen to catch that?
I saw it after you alerted me to it, and my allergies went nuts as well. So there are powerful people out there sharing powerful stories as loss survivors, both as a way to heal, but also to honor those that we've lost to suicide.
Well, I want to say you're making a difference in that I don't know that becomes a featured thing on a, whatever it was, Monday night on nationwide TV, suicide itself 20 years ago. But you guys have loosened that up enough that people can say, wow, that's a great story. We can help. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was just great that they made that a spotlight.
Yeah. And I think they did it with respect and dignity.
Yeah.
And also to make sure that they were doing it safely. So, so as again, April 11th, Bright Night celebration. Here's the best part, Al, is that every donation, if you can pay $9.88 to attend, Everything's being matched dollar for dollar by the TOSA
Wow.
Foundation
Wow.
for the event that we're doing on Thursday, September 10th. Any money that gets raised during that day is going to be matched dollar for dollar by the TOSA Foundation.
Love that.
Go to S.A.V.E.org, look up Bright Night, check it out. Would love to have people there.
S.A.V.E.org. Do it right now. Go visit that website. We'll get them back in here. See you next month, my friend. Appreciate you.
Be good, my friend. Bye-bye.
Erich Mische on the Al Travis Show.
If you could save a life, would it be worth 60 minutes of your time? S.A.V.E.